Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Amma ba'd. First of all, I'm really very much humbled and feeling grateful, and I would offer my gratitude to the university that they invited me to present on this topic. It is really a very important topic, and it is really need of the time to understand its necessity as well as its importance and how it could be used in Sharia compliance way. You all know that nowadays there is a trend towards digitization, and especially fintech, digital financing or digital banking. So I thought that I should give you some perspective regarding this subject, this important subject. First of all, I would like to start with this presentation from this first part, which is the financial services sector and Islamic finance. Financial services sector is the most important sector of the modern day economy. Financial services sector provide an opportunity to the household with surplus capital to select the bank mix of investment in terms of return and tenures and security. It also provides an opportunity to business and governments to finance their activities through obtaining surplus funds. Islamic finance is an integration between the traditional Islamic institution and Sharia-compliant commercial financial institutions. There are several types of these institutions: Islamic banks and takaful, Islamic capital market, Islamic microfinance institution, zakat institution, and waqf institution. Now, if we want to see that what is the benefit of Islamic finance, so you can see in this infographic that it promotes and develops what is good. Secondly, its broad objectives of Sharia. Number 3, it prevents and prohibit what is harmful for the mankind. Through these three things, it basically provides justice and equitable distribution of wealth, promotes high moral standards and ethical values, creates a society of investors rather than debtors or lenders, ensure wealth does not circulate among the few rich people, prevent the act of creating among through lending. And there are 3 or 4 things which we have to avoid in all these transactions. First of all, there should not be any riba-based transaction. Number 2, no gharar. Gharar means any uncertainty, any ambiguity which leads to any dispute in the transaction. Maisir, which is called speculation, it is also called in Arabic qimar or gambling, is example of this, and this is why insurance is also not allowed. And what should be done? There should be risk and profit sharing on equity basis, and there should be real economic transactions so that the whole economy should prosper. What is the basic difference in between the Islamic banks and the commercial bank or commercial banking? Simple is that in Islamic banking, banks provide to client goods and services or goods or services. And in consideration, client provides its money or consideration or a price or rental, whatever. If it is a good, so it will provide the price in compensation. And if it is a lease agreement, so it will provide as a compensation money or rental. If we see in the conventional one, you can see on the right side, bank provides money and clients provides its compensation money, which is principal, plus money, which is interest. So in normal commercial banking, the difference is that the money has been exchanged with money with surplus. But in Islamic banking, basically there should be some goods and services in which the client provides a consideration through money. We all know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed trade and prohibited riba. There is a holy verse of the Holy Quran, Ahallallahu al-bay' wa harrama riba. Allah has permitted trade and forbidden riba. It is mandatory to the Muslims to develop Islamic banking as an alternative banking system and Sharia-compliant banking products. It is also necessary to develop such products in a way that they are not Sharia-compliant but also practical and marketable. So all the products should be run in such a way that it could be practically executed and they should be marketable in market practice. What is fintech? Fintech are combination of financial services and digital technology to provide innovative solutions to consumers and business alike. A study defines fintech as a set of activities which may be either regulated or unregulated according to each jurisdiction, contribution to the provision of financial services facilitated, predominated by entities emerging from outside the traditional finance system, such as banking industry or capital market. Some facts moving Pakistan towards fintech. Pakistan has financial inclusion ratio of 21%. However, the introduction of branchless banking licensing in 2008 by the State Bank of Pakistan served as impetus for digital financing services providers, DFSFPs, to construct agents network throughout the country and aggressively move towards branchless banking through like EasyPaisa and JazzCash, etc. Currently serve almost 70% of the branchless banking users. As a result, forward financial services for the first time spread to tier 3 cities and proliferated into rural network Pakistan. This was because the cost of offering digital accounts was considerably lower by 90% than the traditional accounts, which required a brick and mortar structure. Research also suggests that the impact of digital financial inclusion of individuals alone can increase Pakistan GDP by 30%, $36 billion by 2025. Some important trends have emerged during this year of pandemic, both on the supply and demand side. These include accelerated digital adoption, shifting consumer behavior towards digital platform, and increased regulatory focus on the financial sector. What is Islamic fintech? As traditional Islamic finance, Islamic fintech must establish control functions to ensure that all operations continue to comply with Sharia principles, review the compliant function, risk management, internal and external audit are also important developments within the Islamic fintech ecosystem. The main challenge faced by Islamic fintech is to ensure that the micro and macro factors in the transaction do not contradict with the Sharia principles. Micro factors are there to ensure every single transaction fulfills the Sharia requirement. For instance, Islamic financing products shall follow processes and rules which involve many steps in particular sequence to become Sharia compliant. Islamic fintech must also operate in recognition of the macro factors like ensuring that the solution are not leading to any unfavorable outcome. So this is the basic, there are basic things which we have to do. But in summary, if, for example, we want to see macro and micro, so in the fintech product, so there should be required some innovation. Secondly, the second thing is basically it is useful for financial inclusion. The number three is that it is solving problems in the light of Islamic point of view, and the content and process elements, which is micro, so prohibited. We have to avoid from the prohibited transactions and financial modeling. And the Islamic fintech product should be Sharia compliant product, and we should eliminate following things like riba, gharar, and maisir, and consequential elements are presence, jurisdiction solely, and presence, wealth, distribution, and humanity. So basically, it is not only for Pakistan, it's useful for the all economy for the worldwide. Why Islamic fintech? It may be the first opportunity to Islamic finance a mere 2% of the total finance market of the world to expand without relying on branch network or significant human resources. Scalability and ubiquity of financial technology solution is critical if the Islamic financial system is to serve large number of understand customer, approximately 80% in Pakistan. Digital financial solution is required to achieve economics of scale and efficiency in payment system. The application of Islamic fintech caters to all regardless of their religion, race, status, etc. Sharia compliance, Sharia application is not exclusively for Muslim except in the matters of belief and rituals. In addition, wealth and financial matters in Islam are among the topics where Islamic rulings cater for the well-being of all humankind. What are other benefits? Pakistan has a financial inclusion ratio of 21% compared to an average of 33% for lower middle income countries. So Pakistan is 21%, the other countries have 33% financial inclusion. So we are lower. So in Pakistan or any other country where Muslims are in majority, they prefer to opt for Sharia compliant fintech products as it adheres to more transparency in the transactions as per the Islamic law. It is the best time to tap into unbanked population with Islamic fintech products. Financial inclusion is considered a key enabler of economic development and is featured as target in 8 of the 17th Sustainable Development Goal (SDGs) of the United Nations. Why Islamic fintech? Combination of fintech with Sharia compliance will not only take care of their sensitivity towards Sharia compliant transaction, but also provide easier access with only a click on their cell phone or web browser. There are more than 160 million biometrically verified mobile connections in Pakistan. Approximately 68% of the population owns mobile phone, and there are 58 million mobile wallet accounts in the country, but 53% of these are inactive. Fintech startups are on rise in Pakistan. It is the best time for fintech companies to adopt to software that provide a Sharia compliant platform from the very inception, thereby not only saving time, but not rewriting the code, but also capture the market that is showing a trend of Sharia compliant fintech products. Here, I would like to say one thing that I have been experiencing this Islamic finance, and I was engaged in the banking system around maybe 25 years or more. And what I see that we started in Pakistan through Al Mizan Investment Bank, then converted Mizan Bank. So what we see that growth rate for Islamic banks during this era was around 20% during the whole era. So it was very difficult to convert all the prevailing conventional system because it was running for more than around 200 years or 2 centuries. So it was difficult to convert all things towards Islamic. But it is not the case in the fintech, because fintech is now coming towards Pakistan, and the softwares are being written, or they are being developed. So it is a crucial time then, since inception, if these are opted as per the Sharia rules, so it will cater the more scalable population, because the majority of Muslims living in Pakistan want to their transaction should be Sharia compliant. So around 63% population of Pakistan comprises of youth aged between 15 and 33. Tapping these millennials and Generation Z who are already inclined towards technology at the right time in the right way should be our focus. We should motivate our youth, to do all their transactions in Sharia compliant ways, so that when they generate new avenues of business, being Sharia compliant not only brings barakah in their ventures, but in the return, they also become conscious individuals about their all business dealings and transactions. For study, key knowledge and skills required for fintech entrepreneurs: IoT and data analytics, disruptive, innovative, and financial technology, fintech regulation and legal policy, statistic modeling and financial engineering, blockchain and disrupted ledger technology, financial market and institution, business process management, digital banking and finance, e-payment system and cryptocurrency, and fundamentals in financial technology. Hadith. Islamic fintech can be beautifully captured in the spirit of the Hadith narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, which mentions that facilitate things to people concerning religious matters and do not make it hard for them and give them good guiding and do not make them run away. So basically, Islam says that we should make things easier for the Muslim to adopt, and we should not make things difficult for Muslims to adopt. So that was the whole summary of my presentation, which talks about the importance of Islamic fintech, which should be adopted in our retail banking system. And now it is a time to do all these things because now these things are being developed and it is the trend of these things. And since our majority in Pakistan want or their wishes are towards Islamic finance or Islamic Sharia compliant halal transactions. That is why, and we want to basically provide these services, these things, that because they should get the falah and barakah from in this world and in the hereafter also. This is why we would like to spread, and we should or we must try to spread this Islamic fintech things, which is more commonly used nowadays. One more thing which I would like to share, the last point, which is that uh, the commercial bank or even Islamic banks, they are focusing towards the corporates. The all depositors' money go towards the corporate, and in the corporate, the all depositors' money go to very few hands. But in the fintech, through fintech, we can cater small and medium enterprises as well as microfinancing, so that the poor people or average people or those people who cannot be engaged with the banks easily, they could benefit from these banking transactions and their trade transactions. So it is very much necessary, and because usually in microfinancing and SME commercial financing, previously when there was no fintech available, it was difficult to do all bank by all banks because it had the more cost and of the resources and different types of facilities. So now through this fintech, it is easier and cost effective. So by that way, I would like to conclude my this presentation. Thank you very much. Akhiru Da'wana, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.